Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. Today's featured spotlight shines on my special guest, Hall of Fame songwriter and producer, Glen Ballard, whose records have sold more than 150 million copies worldwide. He's a legendary songwriter and producer whose work has shaped pop, rock, and film. And don't forget Broadway for decades. And he's a 6-time Grammy winner. He co-wrote and produced all the songs on Alanis Morissette's groundbreaking album, Jagged Little Pill, which won Grammy Awards for Album of the Year, Best Rock Album, Best Rock Song for You Oughta Know, and has sold over 33 million albums worldwide. He also co-wrote and produced Alanis Morissette's album Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, which was the follow-up to Jagged Little Pill, and includes the hit Thank You, which we're going to play here at the end of the show. Glen Ballard is known for collaborating on many other hit projects. He co-wrote the #1 acclaimed hit Man in the Mirror with Michael Jackson, which was nominated for Record of the Year at the Grammy Awards. He co-wrote and produced the female pop trio Wilson Phillips, including their #1 hit, Hold On. Another one of those songs that was on the airways forever. For a list of music artists he's collaborated with, just look at your favorite song playlists. He's worked with renowned artists such as Katy Perry, No Doubt, Aerosmith, Quincy Jones, Aretha Franklin, Van Halen, Andrea Bocelli, Shakira, Christina Aguilera, Stevie Nicks, Ringo Starr, Paula Abdul, Annie Lennox, and the Goo Goo Dolls. And that's only a partial list. His most recent television project is Netflix original series, The Eddie, a music-driven multicultural drama about a jazz band trying to survive in chaotic modern-day Paris. And he's currently working on Back to the Future, the musical, which he co-wrote music and lyrics with Alan Silvestri, one of my favorite composers for this stage adaptation of the classic 1985 film. And the show has been playing on Broadway in this last year, 2025 and 2026. He's a songwriter, Hall of Fame inductee, Oscar nominee, Oliver Award winner. Please help me welcome Glen Ballard. Welcome. Welcome, sir.
Well, how can I possibly live up to that introduction? Please.
You already did.
I mean, while it may be factually true, I don't feel like, I was anything other than just an observer of everything that was happening.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. I mean, a really great observer who helped the rest of us understand all those years and all those times through music, which is the best way to do that, I think, to understand life. So your hometown is Natchez, Mississippi.
Yes.
You come from the same soil that birthed the blues and gospel and folk music traditions. It's a river town shaped by work songs, spirituals, grief, faith, and survival. And in your town, music wasn't just entertainment first, but a way to tell the truth and pass stories forward. I love this. I looked up the town. It's known for its well-preserved pre-Civil War mansions, and has more. You know all this, I'm sure, more than any city, because a lot of the houses were spared during the war, and they were survived intact. And the city is perched on bluffs above the river. It was a major port and trading hub, central to the cotton trade in the 18th and 19th centuries. And so I was looking at photos, and it's green and lush and beautiful in the river. And so I thought about you, and I thought, God, was boyhood magical growing up there?
Without question, it's one of the most magical places on the planet. Its complicated history notwithstanding, if you're privileged enough to grow up in Natchez, then you've got a sort of like gift from geography that very few people have. So I will always embrace my beginnings. I also face all of the complications of growing up in a place like that, where you had slavery and racism and And the reconciliation continues to this day. But like, just as a child growing up there, it was absolutely magical. And my heroes were people who played guitar on the street and William Faulkner. And it was like, to me, there was no difference,
Mhm.
and people from that part of the world are able to write pretty eloquently because
So
that's all
why?
they have. That's
Yeah.
all they have. So, I mean, for me as a writer, it was potentially the most nourishing soil you could ever grow up in, and
Mhm.
and at the same time, because popular music was replacing orchestral music at that time, and so much of what we now consider to be modern music grew out of New Orleans, Natchez, places like that, where it was a combination of blues and harmonic sensibility. And then this marriage ended up being what we have today. It's called popular music. But I mean, when I was growing up, music was something that people did on the street corner. It was not like to become famous. It was just a way of expressing yourself. And so I'm forever grateful to the days I spent in New Orleans and in Natchez, where people were just doing it for free. If you got paid, you're lucky, but you did it because you had to do it. And a real artist has to do it. It's there, if you're doing it to become famous, I would say you're not really an artist. If you're doing it, if you're chasing your muse, that's different. If you're chasing the money, no.
And from a young age, you wanted to be a storyteller, right? You
Yeah,
are always
absolutely.
knew you wanted to be a writer. Why
Yeah,
did you choose to write songs instead of books?
because it's the easiest way to get into people's subconscious. I mean, in 3 minutes, you can change their life. A
It's true.
3 minute song literally has, I mean, even the 10 seconds of a song that are important can obliterate an entire movie, an entire opera. What do you remember? You remember this melody and these words in a certain juxtaposition that makes it indelible. So, I mean, I lived for many years thinking that songwriters were, and we are still considered to be like the last credits on any movie are the songwriting credits, right?
Hmm.
But you take away all that music, I don't know, because it's literally it's magic, and to whatever degree I've been able to matriculate in this magical realm called music with lyrics, I consider a gift, and I'm very lucky.
It is a gift. It is a gift. And thank you. Again, I said this in the last segment. Thank you for sharing it with us because it's really changed my life. Especially specifically your magical writing. And you picked up the piano really quickly and you were very young. But you said of those early days, I wasn't a good music student and I just wanted to write songs. And it's been this disease that I have. What's the disease that you're referring to? Songwriting?
I when I sit at a piano, it's the most comfortable place I can ever be in my life, and I have no training, but I just understand how to make emotional connections with certain intervals, and then add to that certain words. Then it becomes a magic trick. And so, I mean, for me, music is this inscrutable, mysterious thing. And so many of my great friends are far greater musicians than I, and I always look to them for guidance. Alan Silvestri, chief among them, James Newton Howard. Those are two composers that have influenced my life because they are far greater musicians than I, but they've always let me in to kind of do my thing. And so I'm grateful to them both.
That's so strange to hear you say that with the music that you've brought to this world. Do you remember, Glenn, the first line maybe that you wrote, or the first song that you wrote that captured exactly what you were feeling? And
Yeah,
then, like,
I,
how did you feel when that came together?
that's when you talk about the disease that I have. That's I when I was 4 years old, I wrote a song called "I Wish I Was a Buzzard. I'd fly around all day, but as it is, I'm just a tree, so I ain't got nothing to say." I did that when I was 4, and I certainly think it got better from there. But like I was continually, and I took 2 piano lessons, and I had these songs, and the teacher said, "What are you doing?" It's like I couldn't learn the March of the Spaceman. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it, and I still can't. I just have to do what I do, and I have people who are far greater than I on a musical level. I mean, my teachers are Ravel, Debussy, and Eric Satie. Because of the whole tone scale, I learned that you could just break out of the squared off thing, and so that's all I know. I'm just intuitive as an artist,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then were you 4? Was that first song that you remember writing? Was that when you realized that songwriting was your native language?
No, I mean, I didn't even know anything about songwriting. It's just what I did. It's like there was no way to make a living from like writing songs. I had a band in the 5th and 6th grade, and we played. It's the most money I've ever made.
I love that.
We were getting $200 a show,
Wow.
one amplifier, and we had to get our drummers, father, to, like, pull his drums into the gigs, Doug Singletary, but we would rock the house because we had the energy. And I was just playing guitar, and I'm not really a guitar player, but it was the idea of like bringing live music to a live audience with energy. So to me, like, I've been doing this shit my whole life. I'm just ready to like put on a show. Come on.
You've been preparing your entire life for this
My
moment.
whole life. This is all I know how to do.
Well, you do it well. Thank you for doing it. And you moved a little bit later down the road. The band must have broke up at some point, I imagine, but you moved to Hollywood and you got a job at John Reed's company, which managed Elton John and Kiki D. And what did you do there at the office?
I just answered.
Just answer the phone?
I first of all, I've tried to make myself useful to my superiors. That's the only advice I give anyone. Make yourself useful to the people who need it, whatever it may be. And in my case, it was answering the phone and being polite and being like, and so I don't think Elton ever met me. I was just like working downstairs. But one day in 1976, a young woman walked into my office where I'm just answering the phone. And she said, "I've got a tape for Elton." It was from Diane Warren, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Diane, I think he writes his own material." She said, "I don't care." So that kind of, she's the most relentless songwriter of all time. We've known each other for 50 years. And so as a songwriter, you're largely invisible, right? You literally are. If you get a hit song and you're the songwriter, what you hope for is a check. That's it, So, I mean, I've never looked at songwriting as a place to be recognized except for the work itself.
But that's not what you were in it from the beginning. It doesn't sound like it. You like those musicians that bust on the street corners.
Yeah.
This is you just had to do it. It wasn't about the money, although that was probably nice. But it's just always been something you have to do. It's just in you. And then I love that you secured a publishing deal with MCA Music. And I was wondering, made me wonder, because I really don't know much about that. Is that the natural path for a songwriter? Is that what you're looking for? What does a publishing deal mean?
Well, for me, it meant like a salvation, because the first publishing deal I had, I was getting $100 a week. It was an advance. It wasn't payment. It was an advance against my royalties. So I think I made, the first year I had a publishing deal, $12,500, but I owed that to the publishing company. And when I finally got some songs happening, then I got it all. But the publisher and the publishers of the world saved my ass, and they can, other than Diane Warren, who has done it all on her own, we all need that support. And if you're a songwriter, you're invisible. And so, a publisher gives you a huge amount of support, a huge amount. So all the publishers in the world, I absolutely respect and love you, because you saved my ass, and you're going to do it for a lot of other people too.
Your catalog spans 4 decades or more, and it includes these major label albums that I've mentioned, film songs, Broadway songs, and material. And I was wondering if you knew, how many songs have you written in all that time? Do you have a count? I did a search online, in case you don't know, but I don't know if my count is accurate.
I mean, I've written thousands.
Thousands.
But starting back in the 4th grade, are you kidding? So most of them are failures. Okay, these are most misfires, but this is how you learn how to do it, right? By continually trying to understand, what are you dealing with here? I mean, you have maybe 3 minutes of a listener's attention, and how can you create a story within that will keep them engaged enough to get to the end, And so it was always a storytelling issue for me. And I knew I wasn't the greatest musician in the world, but I knew how to play almost anything. But I was definitely fluent on the lyric side. So it was like, if I could just, conjure up a way to put those things together, maybe I can advance. But the idea of being publishers are a songwriter's best friend. I've said that a million times, because I would have never made it without them. I mean, MCA Music became Universal, and then blah, blah, blah. And now I've got Concord on my side. So I couldn't exist without them. I'm just a lonely little songwriter. At the end of the credits of every movie, maybe they'll send me a check. Who knows?
Were there times filled with fear, realizing the career that you wanted to go into was daunting? And it sounds like a little bit, maybe, although it's charted for someone new getting into the business, you don't know where to go. You don't know where to start. You have to get out there and jump, right? Was there fear, or have you always been mainly optimistic and hopeful, and you realize that you do have a talent in this, and so that carries you forward?
I mean, the fear is constant. Are you kidding? Like, to this moment. But that's also motivation to continually have to prove that what you as an artist is valid to anyone. It starts with being valid with yourself, So, I mean, for me, I'm constantly challenged by the creative conundrum of how can I make this more intelligible? How can I make this more beautiful? How can I make this connect my message to the listener? And you never get over that. It's of course there's some fear, and there's also some optimism, but like, I never take for granted that people are just going to accept it. I just have to prove it every single time, and I'm up for it. I write every day, so whatever.
Yeah. And what type of what type of standards do you hold yourself to? What type of discipline do you go through that maybe we wouldn't know about, but is a daily part of your life as a disciplined artist, writer?
I just write every day.
That's right.
Write every day. If you're chasing the marketplace, that's different. If you're chasing a muse, completely different process. And I mean, it may not be financially remunerative to chase your muse, but I think ultimately it's the only way to go. If you're a real artist, you don't care about the money. You're not seeking this thing that is such a joke. Like, how famous are you? My only concern is, like, how great is the body of work that we're leaving? Can it survive forever? And that's my whole goal. Period.
That's something that you think about a lot?
No, I don't think about it. I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I sit down and write, I'm not like chasing what the hit song is. I don't even know what the hit song is. I don't care.
I think I read a quote by you. I'm sorry to quote you so much. Back to yourself, but I found it fascinating, and I'm pretty sure it was in relation to songwriting. This quote that I read, but you said in this article that when you feel it, when you feel that you've found your rhythm or you found a song that's working, it's like as if a door opens for you. Is that true? Is that a metaphor that you can explain to me?
No, absolutely. I mean, look, every time you start with nothing and you get something that resonates, then you can build a house around that. But until that happens, so I'm just looking for that spark, the one spark. It could be a phrase, it could be a piece of music, but whatever starts the process, then you have all this fuel to go to put into it, So being uninspired to me is like, are you kidding? You can't be inspired by life. Just walk outside. I mean, there's a song on every corner, and every dream that you have, but you have to learn how to manifest it and be disciplined about enough to use the creative information that you're getting, and not just like float on it. Make use of it.
How rare is that spark, Glenn? How rare is that spark? How often does it come along for you?
Like every day.
Every day. Okay. So you're always inspired, and there's and
because I go outside every day, and I don't live in a digital world. I mean, I try to avoid it whenever possible, but mostly I try to be physical and in reality. And I run a lot and blah blah blah. But like, the digital concept is so enclosed and so kind of suffocating. I appreciate all the blandishments of the digital world, the connectivity, blah blah blah. But like, still, as a human being, get off your phone, get off your cell device, go out and do things. And for me, that's my inspiration. I don't get my inspiration from the internet, I promise.
Okay, I want to explore a little bit your process by revisiting the two albums that had a big impact on me that you co-wrote and produced. Like I mentioned in the beginning, and I'm sure you've talked about these albums so much, but if you don't mind, is that okay if we sort of explore your process through these albums? Okay, so I mentioned Dave Matthews Band and what he became to what the band and the music came to mean to me over the years. It was a sort of a slow relationship build up. But it was your album, the one that you did with him every day, that totally flipped the switch for me. That was the album that flipped it for me and really put me as one in the spot of, I'm your fan now and I'm staying here. So Dave Matthews Band has sold over 30 million albums in the US across their studio and their live releases. And then in the early 2000s, the band was at a creative crossroads. After years of working primarily within their own orbit, they decided to bring in producer Glen Ballard. someone known for helping artists focus their songs and connect with a broader audience. That collaboration resulted in the album Every Day, a record that marked a noticeable shift toward more concise songwriting and structure. And later came Busted Stuff, another one of my favorite albums of all time, which revisited and reimagined material that fans already knew in a new studio context. Every Day sits at number 4 on the list of Dave Matthews Band's best-selling studio albums of all time. It's one of the rare Dave Matthews Band records to hit triple platinum sales. So, Glenn, I want to talk about that album for a little bit. For some listeners, it was a bold evolution. At that time, for listeners that weren't around at that time, there was big controversy about this album and about you coming in as a producer. Some of the listeners and the fans thought it was a departure from what they loved most about the band, but commercially, culturally, it was a defining moment. And it was a rare example of what happens when a deeply established band with fans and a big fan base invites an outside voice, you, into their inner circle. The album was groundbreaking for the fans for many reasons, one of them being that this was the first time Dave Matthews played electric guitar on an album. Is that correct?
It's actually an electric baritone guitar, and it's my guitar that I gave him.
Oh, really?
Yes, of course.
That's a cool fun fact. I'm glad I know now. So I find this really interesting, Glenn. You'll know this as well. I draw comparisons to Dylan's evolution from acoustic to electric.
Perfect.
Right? With Dave Matthews choosing the electric guitar over his usual acoustic on the Everyday album. And so for those of you that don't know, but most of you probably do, at the Newport Folk Festival in '65, Bob Dylan plugged in his guitar, and many folk purists and critics felt betrayed. There were reviews at that time, and they used words like sellout, noise, abandonment of folk values. And to longtime fans and critics of the Dave Matthews Band, the electric guitar became shorthand for a broader concern that had the band traded jam experimentation for pop accessibility. So you gave him the guitar. So that I guess this answers this. My next question was that the idea of going electric, was that yours, Glenn?
Absolutely not. I mean, let me set the record straight. I was brought in to arrange a lot of the Dave Matthews songs that they had been working on in Virginia and various studios. And I did arrangements for all of them. And I went to Connecticut. I didn't even know who Dave Matthews was. So I went to Connecticut. I saw the show. I met the band. And it was like, okay, I've got these new arrangements of the songs that you all know. I've taken out 6 minutes of the jam. So anyway, that was the whole concept. And the idea was that we were going to meet in LA. Dave was going to come out a week in advance. He came out, and we just started writing, and we just wrote 12 songs in 10 days, and it was like, I didn't mean for this to happen, but things like this happen, and yes, I did give him my baritone acoustic electric guitar in that session. You cannot quit me so quickly. That's all the baritone electric, right? So we wrote all these songs. The band came out. I was fully prepared to execute all the arrangements that I had done on all the other songs that they had been working on. And Dave said, I just want to do this. And so I'm going to blame Dave for that, because I was ready to do whatever they wanted. And so then it was like, okay, this band has never even seen this material. What do we do? And so I had elaborate charts for every single part, like that's me. I'm a musical guy, sort of. and I had everything was defined, and they looked at it and were like, "What the fuck is this?" And so I said, "Okay, look, we're just going to move into this studio for 3 weeks, and we're going to pull this off." And we did.
Oh yeah.
We did it because I look, I've worked with rhythm sections my entire life. So I started with Quincy Jones. Are you kidding? And so they had some trouble with some of it at the beginning, but then it was like, okay, I get it. And so we made this record in 3 weeks. So anybody wants to blame me for every day, believe me, I had zero time to gestate anything in the way that the Dave Matthews Band does it. And by the way, they're gestating the songs now forever going forward. All the songs that I ever did with them, they now have their own jam band version of it. And I'm proud of that,
Yeah, you should be proud of it. I told you that was the album that really hooked me, though. So I'm thanking you for that album. Were you surprised by the controversy surrounding that album? Because it was.
Because I don't care. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like, people can say whatever they want about me. Like, you think that because when Dave Matthews walked in the door and I said to him, "We should do something every day," and he went, "Every day," and we wrote that song on the spot, you think I'm going to apologize for that? No, I'm sorry. I'm pretty good at engender. I engender a lot of creativity, so no apologies from me. If you don't like, I mean, look, there were people that are holding up signs saying, "I hate Glen Ballard," because of the hit songs that Dave Matthews has had. Like, go ahead and hate me. Fine.
Oh, I'm so sorry they did that. I'm so sorry.
I mean,
the next concert, I'll hold up.
He had my back on that one. He did. He just said, "Take those fucking signs down," But they can hate on me all they want, and they can continue to hate on me. I don't care.
Well, when you walk in the studio for the first time and with a new band, and you see everybody there, what's your next move?
I wanted to make sure that everybody was comfortable, and we put up a tent at this great studio in the shadow of Paramount Pictures. And what I did was create an environment of creativity, and I would not let anybody leave. It was kind of like a prison because everybody was like driving Porsches and like, "No, you're going to come here. You're going to make this record in 3 weeks, and we're going to get the best food and wine in here." So that's what we did. It was like an enforced situation, and we made the record in literally 3 weeks. I defy anybody to tell me how you can do that better than we did. And and all the naysayers, all the haters, I don't care. Like, you have no idea. You couldn't have done it.
It's really an album to be proud of. I'm sorry that
I am proud of it, but I don't care, just send me the check.
Yeah. How do you reset a band? Because they brought you in specifically because they wanted a new creative, path. They wanted to be inspired. They wanted what you brought, what you bring. And is there a process that you have for resetting the band's creative process, or is it what you just described? You create a safe environment and for them.
Well, I think you start with a safe environment, and then it becomes a challenging environment of like, what do you got? Give me what you got, and if we can help you make it better, we will. What's the comprehensive vision for it? Blah blah blah. All of that goes into it, but I'm good enough to be able to go specifically about this part doesn't work, this does work, that doesn't work. These are somewhat musical technical situations, but ultimately it leads to, if you have an emotional connection to a song and you want all the elements to support that, that's my interest, is like the song. It's like the message, the whole support for it. Everything else is irrelevant to me. It's just, if you want to do like a long solo, I don't care. And neither does anyone else.
What did you think that they needed? Did you have that? Did you already have a preconceived plan? Like this is what I can bring to them. Here's what they need, or not? Like, do you remember
I mean,
how you approached that project?
I was ready to go either way. I had literally at least 11 arrangements of the songs that they did subsequently. I had already arranged those. I was ready to go there. It was Dave who said, I want to do all these new songs. It was like, really? Okay. And it was like, okay, all right, let's see if we can pull that shit off. And on some level,
Threw you a curveball.
Yeah, but like, it's the best curveball I've ever been thrown. It's like, what do you want? I mean, you have an artist who's like hungry for something else, and I gave him that something else in that moment.
What was your first impression of him?
Love. Are you kidding? I'm in love with the guy.
Yeah.
It's a bromance. I think on every level, he's such an incredible human being, and we just connected on that level. And it was like, but like, he's one of the great human beings on the planet. Are you kidding?
Mm-hmm. Seems that way. What does he respond to best?
Say it again.
What does he respond to best? How do you get him to respond? What's his? You said love. He's love.
No, he doesn't respond. I mean, like, he's doing his thing. I'm doing mine. I mean, yeah. I saw him at the Hall Songwriters Hall of Fame or whatever. I see him occasionally at events, but like, whatever. He's got his agenda. He's a performer. Mm-hmm. I'm writing a lot of other stuff, so it is what it is.
Now, you said something about recording in L.A. I had heard or read that Every Day was recorded at their farm at Haunted Hollow, just outside of Charlottesville. Did I hear you incorrectly, or do I have the wrong information?
That's the wrong information.
That's the wrong information? Okay.
Yes. It was recorded in Hollywood.
Hollywood, okay. I didn't know. I've got that wrong all these years. How did you challenge the band? Or did you? Did you have to go in there and challenge them, or?
No, I mean, look, I can't believe that this information is not correct. It was done in a studio in Hollywood, and the band, they were already stars. They came in with like limousines and like big cars and whatever. And I just said, okay, welcome to what we're doing now, which is we have to make a record in 3 weeks. And so, for me, it was like love and discipline, those two things.
Okay, so congratulations on the success of the album. It's, like I said, the 4th best-selling in their entire catalog. It sold 3,160,000 copies. That's what I've got for now for Every Day. And I wanted to move on and talk about Alanis, unless you had anything else you wanted to say. Okay, so you guys, if I got this right, you were 19 when you first met her, right? What were your first impressions of her?
I was 19. I was like 35,
She was 19. Did I just say you were 19?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I meant her.
I was 19.
Yeah. You were 35. She was 19. What were your first impressions?
I thought she was the smartest person that ever walked in my door. I mean, she was like on fire intellectually, emotionally. She had an incredible sense of humor. And so, the first 45 minutes I spent with her over a cup of tea was like really about humor. And so anybody that has a functioning sense of humor is probably a friend of mine, because, there's a certain irreverence involved with that. So, I mean, I met her through my publisher. Let's do another shout out to publishing, Universal Music. They called me up and said, we have an artist in town from Toronto. She's just got dropped by her label, but she's still got a publishing contract. Would you write a song with her? I said, of course. like, why? I mean, I'll say yes to almost anything because whatever I've got, I've got. But what you've got, I'm going to I'm going to try to take some of that and make it into something that I would never have had. And
Mhm.
so she walks in the door. We have 45 minutes of like conversation, and then we wrote a song called The Bottom Line. I just picked up an acoustic guitar and I just said, there's a club in New York called The Bottom Line, and it's like a legendary place and like blah, blah, blah. Let's just write a song about that. And it's like, meet me down at the bottom line. And she totally got the concept,
Yeah.
metaphorically, musically. And it was like, who is this? Who is this girl? Like, what the, it's so I
And
knew.
Glenn, I want to play a little bit of that right now. Here's
Yeah.
the bottom line. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, because that's the first song I wrote with her. And then the next song I wrote with her was called Ironic. Okay. Ironic. And it was
Ironically.
like, and we were going like, and nobody liked it and like whatever. I mean, I had to fight to get Ironic on the actual album because, and they put it like 9th or 10th on the album.
One of my favorite.
It's like, are you kidding? It's like, but but that's the way it works, and if you're breaking all the rules, it takes a while for people to to get over it.
Here's a beautiful sentiment, something from you that you said about that first meeting. You said that you described it as strangers on a train meeting with no past or future, just whatever happens now. I think that's so beautiful. And she says of you, Glenn is the first relationship, good relationship that I'd ever had, constructive and not destructive. She said that she met you. I think you guys were at the studio. You said that, right? And your walls were yellow, and she sees people with yellow and people that she connects with. So I thought all of those little things were really neat. So Ironic was the third song, I believe, that you guys wrote together. And I want to play a little bit of that here right now. So Glenn, one of my favorite songs that are Ironic that we just played. What color are your studio walls now?
And the previous studio that I had, those yellow walls were, it was like 15 coats of paint. It was like a kind of medieval kind of like world. What I have now in my studio is acoustic treatment. So yeah, so it's not as aesthetic, but on a sonic level it's much better. But that particular place and those walls, I think, made all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
She walked in, and I mean, Alanis would never sit in a chair ever. She would position herself on the floor, and I was just like, it was just an incantation that happened between us. But she never, and she was always singing. So when I have someone with her great voice just auditioning every possible way to go, it was like, oh my God. And so we were able to write every song in one day. And so all the songs on Jagged Little Pill were written in one day and recorded in one day. So, we did some post-production, but like literally the genesis of it was like in that moment. And I just had enough fluency as a guitarist and an engineer to record her vocals and shit. Like, I mean, most of her vocals are like scorch because I recorded them. And I'm not an engineer, but it was like she insisted that it's just the two of us in the studio, blah, blah, blah. So, and that's Jagged Little Pill, So
I listened to the album entirely today. I hadn't heard it in many years, and I know what you're talking about. I picked up on that. It's such a great album. It's sold 33 million worldwide plus, still and counting. One of the most influential albums ever. So, Glenn, what would in today's frame, what would be the equivalent today of selling 33 million albums in the streaming world? Is there any? Do you count it differently now? Do you look at it differently? Is there a different equivalency or comparison?
I mean, I'm not counting it.
You said you're not in the.
I'm not counting. I don't care. It's like
That doesn't matter to you at all.
Look, no.
Just that people like it or connect with it.
And I mean, look, my engineer Scott Campbell and I produced a Super Bowl show 20 years ago at Qualcomm Stadium, and it was No Doubt and Sting. We had 12 minutes to do it. We had no props, and then I see the Bad Bunny. The Bad Bunny production is like the greatest live production I've ever seen. It's beyond brilliant. I'm humbled by it. Because I am also interested in live presentation, and for something like that to go off,
there was
somebody is a genius behind.
How long did they practice? Do you think that?
I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know how you choreograph.
I thought about it too. I mean, from the cameras,
No. I mean, because I do a lot of stage work, and so I understand what blocking is and what but like on a football field. Because I've done the show, okay? I've actually produced a halftime show, and this was like on some other level. So I just think we're moving into a place where production is king, but still at the heart of it, I mean, the Bad Bunny has got, he's my man. Are you kidding? He's the next superstar of all time, and so, but beyond that, it's just like the whole concept of like producing something like that, which is so incredibly difficult. But we just put our money into live productions. I mean, we have Back to the Future is running in Tokyo. It's opening in Hamburg, Germany, on March 22nd. It's touring it's in Fort Lauderdale tonight, and it's still running in London. So, I feel like live presentation is the future of music, and I try to be involved with it in every way I can, especially with stage. I mean, we're also working on House of Cards for the stage with the great Mason Bates, who's one of the great opera writers of all time. And, but it's always about people singing, giving it to you real. There's no subterfuge here, there's no digital kind of interlocutor. It's real. And I think going forward, anybody that can put on a show is going to win.
And this is through your company?
Yes, Augury. Yes. I mean, we were heavily involved with Back to the Future, the musical, and we're producing like 10 other projects right now.
Well, I really want to mention, we're almost out of time here, but I wanted to mention and be sure to mention that that your work with film scores. So you've worked movie and soundtrack albums. You co-wrote the ballad "Believe" with Josh Groban, which was sang and featured in the hit animated movie The Polar Express. "Believe" won a Grammy Award in 2008 for the best song. Written for a motion picture, nominated for an Oscar Award for Best Song category. Charlotte's Web, A Christmas Carol, Beowulf, The Croods, The Mummy Returns, and Valentine's Day, all movies that you've contributed to. And as we've just been talking about on Broadway, pursuing this endeavor of live shows and composing music for Broadway musicals and Broadway musical productions. You wrote with Dave Stewart and Bruce Joel Rubin the songs for the successful show Ghosts, the musical, based on that hit movie, Ghost. Like we said, you're working on the Back to the Future, the musical, which you co-wrote lyrics with Alan Silvestri. Just an incredible composer. Is that experience amazing? It sounds like. So you've also got, before I let you go, you are, I'm not going to say it's a rule, but you're stepping out and performing with a new song. Is there a new album to back it up? Or tell me about that project, Glen.
Well, I mean, I don't know what an album means anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
But
good point.
We have, I have a track called The Blue Guitar, which is based on a Picasso painting from 1904 of the old guitars. It's really homage to every busker on the street. And Wallace Stevens did an incredible poem called The Man with the Blue Guitar. So I've co-opted all these great people who are much smarter than I, and we've created a version of the blue guitar. Things as they are changed on the blue guitar.
Very, very powerful. Powerful. Well, I can't wait to hear that. I hope you'll bring it back to us when you have it ready for the public. And we're going to leave you now today with Thank You from the album Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie in 1998. It was written by Alanis, Morissette, and Glen Ballard, my special guest today. It was performed by Alanis and produced by Glen. You can go to find out more about what Glen is up to on glenballard.com. With one N, BALLARD.com. Glen, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. It's been such an honor.
Well, I'm overwhelmed by your knowledge of my background, and it's kind of humbling, you know. It's just, but I've been around for so long, you know.
Yeah, but you know, you mean a lot to me, and you mean a lot to a lot of people. So I hope you get told that often, and you know that.
Well, I don't get told that often, but I do appreciate it when I do.
Well, you have meant so much to me and so many others. Take my word for it in my circles and in this world. Okay, so communicate, but listen more and evolve. And don't forget the Jeremiah Show airs Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Radio Evolve Rocks in Santa Barbara, California. Tune in, listen more, and evolve. Glen, thank you so much.